Today we'll continue the open shaded letters. I'll show you the capitals. And instead of using a pen, today we can use a pencil because there might be a few adjustments you might need to do to the letters. Capital letters are, again, I'm going to base them off of um, the Engrosser script. So those of you who are doing the calligraphy class will know how to go about it. Just the thicknesses maybe will be something that since we are artificially adding, you might need to adjust that. But like I said last time, a lot of it is visual. And this is not a formal hand. So if aesthetically you feel the need to put a certain amount of weight at one point, please go ahead and do it. Uh, those who have done the calligraphy capitals, they might find it a lot easier. So I'll start off with giving you some basic strokes for uh, the capitals. Unlike this, the minuscule letters, the capital letters have their own separate, I guess, fundamentals. And then there is, it's like one fundamental stroke and then everything else dances around it. So I'm going to club a few letters together. Unlike last week where we did A to Z, I'll give you a different sequence of practice because then that helps you to practice one particular stroke better. So just use a regular pencil. Don't use a mic, what's it called? A mechanical pencil if you can help it. Because you might need to put some pressure in a few places, and the mechanical pencil will often just break. It's very frustrating. So we're going to start off with making slightly smaller guidelines where the space is not going to be as large as last week. Because now I'm going to assume that you have an idea of how that thickness works. We don't need to enlarge the letter to understand where the thickness goes and how things, where the line becomes a shaded line, where it remains a hairline. But the rules are pretty much the same. So we'll make a bunch of baselines, and the height of the capital letters is usually 3 times the height of the minuscule letters. We'll go with that standard proportion. It's a little easier. Eventually, you can change it to whatever your taste dictates. So it could be shorter capitals and taller letters, not taller than the capital, of course, but taller than 1/3. Or it could be really tall capitals like up to 5 times the minuscule letters and really tiny minuscule letters as well. So all of that is open for you to decide. You hold the book vertical and start off with just making a line on top. This is the capital line, and maybe one finger lower, just so that we have some consistent proportion. This will be our baseline. We don't really need to make an X height or an ascender one. But just so you know, if I go back to our letter from last week, we were working on across a guideline that required 6 lines. So you had baseline, waistline, ascender 1, ascender 2, and below baseline you had descender 1 and descender 2, which is where our descenders would come to. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 lines to write across. Our capital letters are only going to be across 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. So these are the physical lines that we talk about. When we say when we're talking in regular terms and we say skip a line, we actually mean the space where you would have written a line. But in this case, when I say a line, it means the physical line, which is the which is one of the 2 lines which will enclose the space where writing is done. You get what I mean? There's a difference. This is the written line, and when you say skip a line, you go, you skip a space where a line would have been written. It won't be too, I mean, we are not going to need it too much, so don't get too confused about that. So we are writing across baseline, waistline, ascender 1, ascender 2. So my capital letter is going to occupy so much space. But we are not making those lines because it just makes everything far too cumbersome. So this line would be baseline and ascender 2. And there isn't any requirement of making the lines in between, so we won't bother. Now, last week we made our letters at an arbitrary slant. We are going to continue that same slant. So make a slanted line and just make that, make some parallel lines across so we can lean all our letters in the same direction. And the first stroke you will make would be the main stem, which goes mostly parallel to whatever angular guideline you've made. But, okay, I'm going to show this to you. This is the main stem. It is a little thick in the center only, but the stem turns to the right a little bit and then also to the left a little bit. But I want you to see how the thickness works in this case. It's the two edges that become tapering. So once you understand this logic, it becomes very easy to see how we are going to have to manipulate our thicknesses on one or either side of the line. Now, obviously, we are not going to have to, we can't go make all the letters drawing the main stem in this manner. So we will be making the stem like this. And somewhere in between, you will draw the line. But I want you to know that this should look uniform, whether you make it upright or it's upside down. So right now, as you can see, mine has turned a little too close and is not the same as I have made the top. So keep turning your book to check that you're not making the bottom too flat or too straight or the top too round. So it helps to first draw, just so you know the shape, first draw the center part of the line, then turn the bottom and turn the top the same amount. And then on any one side, you can add the thickness. It's a very small thickness. It does distort the lines uniformity a little bit, but that's okay for our sake. We're not working with mathematical precision, so this much is fine. So this main stem is used in two ways, one with the weight and one without. So in some cases, you will have the line without any thickness at all. So let's start off with the first set of letters where we will use the main stem with thickness. Now, if you want to just make these lines across the whole page, but remember to keep some paper underneath your hand so that you don't erase through all of these. Okay, so a lot of these The lettering is based on all sorts of loops. So as we go along, I'm also going to show you some exercises with loops that will help you keep your hand loose for this lettering. Okay, let's start off with the letters with an I. So how many letters are based on this stem? You can draw the oblique lines across also. And if you want, you can draw the oblique lines as long lines through as well. So would everyone just please look at the screen when I'm making these letters so you see them better, see the process better, and then you can start making. So the letter I is made using first just this stem. So you just draw this regular stem. But keeping it this short makes the letter look really odd. So you will extend it outward. Now this extension should look like arms opened wide, not like an elbow bend. So this has to really flourish outward. For this, if you need to start turning the line from somewhere over here, also it's fine. Now we are going to add thickness a little to the right, consistently parallel line on this edge. And then we're going to come from the same point, but in a gentle oval shape up to where we see the midpoint. And then give this shape over here. And in this case, a thinner or just equal thickness on the right side. So this is the ductus. You go make this line first, this line second, and then from the other side, you come down and make this line third. So there's no need for you to go up. So we want to try to make all the strokes coming downward or going from left to right. Except Shivani. Now, in your case, Shivani, there will be some places where you might have to make the letters, the strokes go in the opposite direction to us because you're left-handed. But work that intuitively. I won't be able to tell you which might work for you. Okay? Do you want to give this a shot? Okay, now the next in line, I want to go through these really fast. Don't worry about not getting the right shape. You will get it in time. The next one is one of potentially only two letters which have a descender. This fellow is the letter J, which comes down to almost 2x below. So just arbitrarily pull it down for now, it doesn't matter. It's the same stroke extended. You make a loop out of it, and you can bring this down to the same height. And the thickness of the line extends all the way to the point where the line turns. Ductus is pretty much the same. So in many cases where you have a hairline, I have to stop myself from slipping into the technicalities. Um, Here actually direction doesn't matter, but the hairlines can be made in either direction. The strokes, the shaded strokes usually should be a downward stroke or a left to right stroke. So that gives you some idea of where you can put an extra thickness. Okay, next one is the letter S. So leave some gap, make the same stroke like the I, thickness. And now from the top, because it's already turned, you make a loop that comes towards the middle, pointing downward, and a line from this side coming and attaching to what looks like a continuation over here. So here we have 2, 3. Avoid making this in one stroke. Now remember, these letters are going to look very wide and very big. They're they're like peacocks. You can't put a peacock in a pigeon coop. Just it has needs that space for the flourish. So don't try to fit it in a regular handwriting like that. So if you see yourself making something like this is because we are thinking handwriting, but we have to think lettering. You have to give whatever the letter needs. Just making the stroke is not enough. Let it spread its wings. Now the next letter will be the letter F and T. They have something similar. So leave some extra space because they have a flourish in the back of the stem. The same shape. And then above this, just see how this space is. I'm going to make an oval space like this that goes up and outward and put a weight over here. This is the letter T. So look at how much space it has. It could also have some weight here. Now in the case of T, we want to avoid making it like this. So don't come too far out. We also want to avoid making it like this. Don't come too far in. So balance it out. And this can be one stroke. Now, if we make the same thing again, and somewhere just above what we see as the 1/3 space, we can take a small shape outward and a closed or blind loop. We will get the letter F. On that little crossbar of the F, do not make a loop you don't want to see a hole there over here. So if you're doing this, then it'll look like FE. We don't want that. So we just want to keep it simple. There's a little bit of a blob there because when you make that U-turn and come over, you don't come on the same spot. All right, next. I'm moving a little fast because I don't want you to dwell on your shapes too much. You will get enough time to practice these, and a little bit of warm-up will help get your shapes better and better. This is like my mother's philosophy. If you're running out, when you're running a fever, get up and do something. You forget the fever and somehow you're just better. I don't know, it worked for me. At today's day, if I say this to anyone, they will throw me out. But it just worked. Distract yourself, but keep doing something. All right, so the next letters, we will take on the letters V and W. Same stroke again, but this time we are not taking the bottom of the stroke too far. Let me make it on this side. Just the end of the stroke here. Don't allow flourish. So I hope you appreciate that our main stem ends here, and this part is the flourish. So we end the main stem here. This is our thickness, and then almost at this point almost parallel, but ending outward, we draw the second stroke, but this seems very weak. So we will add a stroke like that compound curve from last week, which is just spread out and give us a nice flourish at the head of the letter V. So make the flourish later. First make the main stem, the second stroke, and then add the flourish. Although there are instances where once you're comfortable, you can just start with the flourish and make the main stem and then the extended hairline stroke later. Now, contrary to what I had spoken earlier, we need to make all lines coming downward. This stroke, because it's a hairline, it still goes up. You can still make it up. And technically also you will be right. So the difference is that when we write with a dip pen and ink, there are things that you cannot do. So trying to make a shaded stroke in the wrong direction is impossible. So it would be technically wrong in a script to put it on a downstroke. So that is one of the technical reasons. But when we are writing in pencil or pen, we can do anything we want. And that is where many people make a mistake. So including me, without knowing the rules of the tool. So this is our stroke. I have in the past made a weight on both sides. And to us, to an untrained eye, it just seems if it looks graceful, it works. But technically, it would be wrong. So you should know what is technically correct. In time, you will. And still go ahead and do this because you like it. So then you can always defend it. Now, W is not too different. Repeat the same twice. But remember that the first and the third stroke of W must be parallel. And as far as possible, this triangular space and this triangular space must look even and even equal. So if I were to turn this around, like this space and this space, it should look equal. And then this and this.
Aditi, can you please repeat the W?
Oh.
I lost my internet connection for a second.
Oh, no problem, no problem. This is the first stroke, then you go a little shallow third stroke, these two must be parallel. And then again, these two should be parallel. The fourth stroke will come outward, and you will also add a little flourish in the beginning, just like the V. So the problem comes on the top over here. Should you make it this pronounced and turned? I don't think you need to. You can just go straight and come down also. It works equally well. Keep these things really tiny. Otherwise, you're in danger of drawing something like this, which looks rather ugly. It's too exaggerated. It's too much. Keep it subtle. Now, I don't know whether this is my observation of Indian people, because I've only observed Indian people. I've not observed non-Indian people, so I could be biased. But we love curls and twirls too much in anything and everything we feel that अगर लाइन बनानी है तो स्ट्रेट क्यों बनाएं, सबको थोड़ा सा डेकोरेट करते हैं. In a way, I feel we deal with even lines and art like we deal with spices. I mean, if you want to make a fried egg, how can I just make a fried egg? थोड़ा सा इसमें मिर्ची डालते हैं. There's no need actually, but yes, we cannot do without that little mirchi. So the curl in art, or especially in calligraphy, is the spice that I have found many Indian letter writers love it. And these are amateur letter writers, of course, and I include myself in that. I love my twirls. So it's difficult to maintain a little bit of discipline when it comes to points like these, but in literally the larger picture, not having something that is hogging the limelight with these extra curls and twirls will be beneficial for the whole picture. So if you're doing it, just notice it right now. You don't need to reprimand yourself for it, but try to slowly straighten that curve. Right, the next letters will be, we finished T and F, V and W. Now let's go to the letters L. Oh, we could have done L. No, not L. We go to K. So the K is also, no, I'm changing that. I'm making an H first. So this is the main stem. You can make another main stem, but this time, instead of coming to the side, you come up to this point exactly like the first one, and then you turn around like we did the L. Give it a thickness on the right. And now is a very beautiful part. You make this curl like the ascender loops that we made and bring it slanting downward and then further down. So it's like a very nice dupatta hanging downward. And of course, that same flourish on the left. Now, once you've made the H, and this has become a little wider, but this is still fine. I'm going to extend this line to make the K right next to it, because some of the proportions will be easy for us to observe. The K2 starts with this same flourish. The main stem. And in the amount of space that we've written the H, the K2 will consume the same amount of space to write its two strokes. So you have the top, which is a stroke like this. and with a ball terminal on top. And then we have the second part of the compound curve, which comes like this. So in this, try to see that this space is just as wide as this space below. Mine looks a little wider. It is a little wider. I could make it slightly thinner, but visually they seem to balance each other out. The weight over here comes right on top of the weight over here. The weight of the arm is above the weight of the leg. So it balances out. And if I were to place both of them next to each other, this width is equal to this width. Okay, moving on. Now the next letters are P, B, and R. They are based on the same main stem, but with curves. So we've already done the bottom of the R in the case. That should be easy for you. Main stem, thickness. Now we need to make an oval-like shape over here in such a way that it crosses over P and comes over here in what would be one oval space or a little more than that. So I'm going to make this shape like we made for the T and F, but slightly more upright. And bring the P down. No need to touch. You can just add a thickness to the right or the left, depending upon how much space you have over here. So look at the spacing that we have all over. We can make a P that's like this, but then that makes the bolt too tall. So you need that crossover here. I don't know if you can see this. When you make that cross, you should not have make the eye of the P too thin either. So we normally take a guideline like this. The same thing we would use for maybe an H, K, even VW to some extent. And this could very well be about 1 or 1.5 oval shape, because how do we know what kind of spacing we should have? What is the proportion? So going by what our oval sizes are, just use one of those to see what would be the most elegant for you. In something that is not very strict, you can decide your own aesthetic. So if you want all these enclosed spaces could be really thin or really fat, it's up to you, but they should be consistent. Now, the P comes down to about lower or max, not lower, it's about the height of our X, X height, right? And the B and R will come at about halfway between the X height and the ascender. So for B, I'll just show you the two together so you know comparatively how it works. The flourish can remain the same for P and B and R. The bowl will come slightly higher than P. And then the bottom should be at an angle, the angular alignment of the two ovals. It should not come upright. And then R, just be patient. I want to show you the two together. Just observe this. Cross over at the right place. This is not half. And then just like we made the K, so for our eyes, it takes a while to see this leg on the R come so narrow. Automatically, we want to write an R that looks like this or something like that. And then effectively what you've written is an R like this, which is again technically right, but to our eyes is unfamiliar. All right, give it a shot. Okay, next one. Shall we move on? All right. The next couple of letters, we'll do 3 letters. Here, I'm going to change, so from here on out, the role of the main stem modifies a little bit. So the next letter will be the letter L. When I make the main stem on this letter, I'm going to extend this main stem down very in a, I guess, an extreme angle, just touching the baseline or just below it or just skimming it. Make a narrow U-turn and come back in a gentle curve like this. And the top would look like the S. So here, the tops of both these letters look the same. It's the bottom that changes. And you can keep both of these balanced, about the same amount. So now the main stem again is an individual stroke that goes down and out. And then from the top, you have stroke number 2, and from the left, you have stroke number 3. So they need to join like this. And just to keep life simple, if you join the letters at an angle rather than straight, so I'm just magnifying this. This is the thickness of our main stem. Trying to join the loop of the S sideways means that our loop can become rather round. This angle goes in too sharp, so it becomes a little rounded, and this whole thing will create like a horizontal oval sitting on top of the stem. But if the same line were to come sideways, and also the precision required to match this is much more. But if this line came sideways, we have so much room for it to work. So even if I take it here, it still looks like it can attach. If I bring it from here, it still looks like it can attach. So going at a slant helps to create the illusion of these joining better than bringing them perpendicular to a line. You get what I mean? So even if you goof up a little bit, because of the diagonal joining angle, it's a little more forgiving than a linear perpendicular angle. And it's all about how it works visually. So when you are joining this line and another one coming there, join it at an angle to the main stem rather than perpendicular to the main stem. Okay? Right. Now the next one, this is the letter D. So the D is pretty similar to the L in how we make the first stroke. And when we come up a little narrower than the L, cross over, go upward and outward in this most elegant oval shape. Now this letter is often written in one shot. But for our sakes, you can break it up and you can add an additional shade to this part of the letter as well, but keep it thinner than the main stem. This D will take a little bit of practice because our common problems are like this. We make this too short and this too long. And then if we make both these long, it looks fine to an untrained eye, but it's a little too pudgy for the rest of our letters because everything else is going to become fairly narrow. So you really need to force yourself to go out. Then when you do this, then there will be you probably would come to the extreme where the hollow in the D is too narrow and the loop has become too wide. And then you will autocorrect. Then another thing that happens also is, yeah, you go beyond this point when actually you should make that cross over here. So we do need this cross in 1, 2, 3, 4, all these places. Right, now the last one with this stroke is the letter Z. Again, end it like the L, ample space between the front and the back. And then we make a stroke pretty much like the the W, but add a flourish to it like this, and then a thickness like so. So they tend to look very similar. That's a good thing. I can't imagine the pain of certain teachers of handwriting when the modern schooling system tried to simplify all these letters and make all of them distinct so that they don't look like each other. These systems are beautifully designed. Okay, so this is the sequence that you should practice in, and you will keep reinforcing the stem. The next set of letters, we are going to do 3 different sets of letters. We'll all use this main stem as an accessory. There are other shapes that will be important and then only for that set of letters. So the first of these will be where we make a hairline of the main stem. Remember, I told you earlier, we use the main stem either as a shaded stroke or as a hairline stroke without any weight on it. So this one, this is our hairline stroke, and give it a nice flourish. And bring this stroke down like we did the ascender loop, but turn it inward just a little bit so that we can add some weight only to this section. And then turn it around, loop it upward, and make an A. Oh, sorry, I don't know what my pencil is doing today. Now, another variation of A is if you were to take the stem from below and go a little further from here as well, and then come down, and then of course repeat the same. So it's the width. That's the difference between these two. Either one works. The next one after this is the letter M, and maybe you can again do it this either way. You can start off either from the bottom or the top. I'll start off from the top just that I can practice the main stem with you. Sorry, too early. Coming down. Then you come down like again another main stem, but straighter, and turn a little to the left, not too much. Then this time we go up. Now this is going to be like the corollary of the W. So you might have a certain sense of deja vu about this.
Aditi, I have to leave. I've got some guests. So I'll just
Okay,
catch up with the rest. Okay, I'm sorry. Bye,
all
everybody.
right. No, it's okay. Bye-bye. Now, even for the M, you can make the same shape for the first part and then make a narrow second part. That's up to you. So the M and W will be wider than the rest of the letters. Let them be wider. Don't try to fit them. The next one, N. This time we are going to take, I want you to just observe this. This N can be rather tricky. Intuitively, we feel that half of M would be N. And if you try to make that shape, you get some sort of N, but it's not really very pretty. So I'm going to give you the Engrosser script N, where we take this line up like as if it were a main stem up to the middle. And then instead of going to the right, we go straight upwards. So it's a curve going up. Now don't go all the way to the top, just a little to the side or just even above this, you start a line that is like a tilted main stem, a main stem that is tilted towards the left, so it becomes straight. And then from the right, not at the bottom, but slightly above, you will make another stroke that comes outward like we have done for V and W, and put a nice ball terminal on both sides. Now this N or this shaping of the N will allow it to stand slightly more upright. If we were to make the N like the M was, we do get an N, but it is too slanted. It works. You can use this if you want, But this one is a little more balanced and it's not leaning. It doesn't look like it's suddenly going to fall off. So this is just a problem because of following the lines blindly, following the rules blindly. It's the same rules that we apply, but in some cases, aesthetically, they just don't work. Do this now, if I start writing something along, it will look like the N is falling over the letters. It's not a very stable shape. That's why we resort to this. Let me make that main stem again. It's so ugly. I'm sorry. It's just like this, with the weight in the middle. I'm making the remaining letters right here if I can. So they'll be slightly smaller. The next few letters will use an oval shape and they will make the letters in two types of oval shapes. So an oval that is counterclockwise and an oval that is clockwise. So now here's the counterclockwise letters. This is the letter O. And we have a weight over here and over here. You can also have a tiny weight here.
Sorry, Aditi ma'am, can you repeat the O again?
Yes, yes. It's just a spiral, and then this little thing comes ahead. Now, if you're comfortable with the oval, I'll just make this shape so you know that this is counterclockwise. Then we have the letter C, which you can just make like this also. Fairly simple. Now, all of these letters must align to our slant. They should look like, if I were to draw that slant, it goes straight through the shape and cut it in half. And this becomes significant for the next letter, which is E. And the E is in proportion like the B cut in half. So you have, say, two halves. You have two little oval shapes. So you have something like this, where the line comes sideways, doesn't go up. And then you have one line which comes and makes it like this. So be careful that you don't make it upright. You might do this sideways, and then you might do the next one right below it vertically. This would make it quite ugly. If this is the shape, the next shape should be at a slant, because that is its line of alignment. And sometimes you could also add a little weight to the front. Notice all these shapes are counterclockwise ovals. Is everyone with me? Pushing you all ahead. Okay.
Yes. This is
Next
so
one.
hard.
Next one is G. So it's like a small C. But it doesn't go all the way to the bottom, to the baseline. This is what it does. So this is a very odd, unexpected shape for the G. We don't make G with a long descender. Okay, now to conserve space partly and also to give you some connection, in the next series, I'm making the U, X, Y, and Z. So I'm going to make the U and possibly the X over here as well, because it is in a way connected to this stroke we make. We start the stroke out clockwise. But instead of going inward for, well, not inward so soon, the X is also based on a stroke like this. You make the first stroke like this, and the second stroke like this. And sometimes you will see that even this comes around like the H. So there's a bunch of strokes that they're connected to. And only one of these strokes will get the weight. So you can put a little bit of shadow on the flourish. And you might also want to put a ball terminal here to balance this out. And from here, you will start writing the letters. So either the ball terminal or you can have a flourished line coming through. Or sometimes I've also seen like the F, a line going through. Now the next letter will be the letter Y. I'm writing it right next to Z because again there some shapes will be common. Here too, we will make a shape like this, like the flourish, which is based on this shape, which is based on our compound curve. So we make a longish oval shape coming down, going up. So this almost looks like a compound curve that has gone, a compound curve on steroids. And then you can make the main stem on the side. So in this, there are a lot of similarities with the Z, you will see. Except for the bottom stroke, it almost looks similar, but just because of varying the proportions, it becomes a different letter altogether. And the last two letters are, I'll show them to you together. Again, pretty much like the Y, we have the U, which comes even lower. Don't take this line all the way to the top. This is like a mere like the letter T, just that much of an ascender. And the the weight on the right here, this is the letter U, and Q would be just a pure counter, clockwise shape with the weight over in these two places. That's it. So the Q often looks like a very large 2. Let it be. Don't struggle against it. If we try to make a Q that looks like O, we have an option like this, not one of my favorites. From the bottom, you can make a shape like this. It's again the compound curve. So if you're uncomfortable with this, you can go with this. Here's the U, and the same proportions or slightly more, or for the Q are perfectly fine as well. You can, sometimes you'll also see a Q that looks even odder. The oval doesn't even go this low. It stays very shallow. Okay, now I'll give you time to practice. So follow this order. I'm putting these lines in between as separators. So follow these first, then these, then these. Then after you're comfortable with the first lot, don't include X, Y, and U in this, okay? When you're comfortable with these, then you can move to L, D, and Z, because all of these in some way are related to the main stem. That way you will keep strengthening your main stem. And then take all of these separately. This clump can go together, this clump can go together, and then X, Y, U, Q can go together. Okay, I'm going to take 5 minutes because I have to go and change. So if you all want to have discussions, if you want to moan a little bit, sympathize with each other, feel free. I'm removing spotlight. I'll keep the gallery. So anybody who wants to speak, go ahead, enjoy yourselves. 5 minutes, I'm coming back.
Hi Zai, how was Nepal?
It was good, cold, and I had to turn back midway because of an injured knee.
Oh,
But it was fun. I practiced drawing the stupa,
hmm.
and so Aditi had given an idea to click a picture and then draw the guidelines. So I tried doing that. I'll share it once I'm finished, so that Aditi can give some feedback.
But your husband could finish.
So he waited back with me. So everything happened at the same time. My period started, my
Oh.
cramp started. I had to skip lunch that day because I was feeling nauseous.
Uh,
It was a big climb down and climb up and climb down again. And still it was fun.
So brave of you.
I mean, you're surrounded by those mountains. So there's Annapurna, and then there is Machapuchare, which looks like a fish tail. It is so beautiful. Like, you can't help but get addicted.
Of course.
And even if you're not into trekking, you should try to visit Pokhara. It's a beautiful city with a lake.
Yeah, those pictures with the boats, they were so beautiful. And even those bikes.
Yes.
My God, how beautifully they were done. You know, that motifs.
Yeah, yeah. And I try to take pictures of all the food so that I can illustrate. Hey,
Yeah.
how did that happen? That bubble and the thumbs up.
Where?
I think you can hold against someone's name and say chat or something. There's some option.
Oh,
Reactions maybe.
okay. Okay, I don't have it here. Okay, I'll try.
Let me see.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, reactions.
That's so cool.
I can see your cat. Oh my God. She jumped. So in the reaction, there is an option. Ah.
Okay, after I do Q, maybe.
Okay. I see one more AI companion also. This I haven't tried.
Oh,
Ah, okay, to ask questions, catch up meetings. New feature. So
so
Zaya,
one
Shah,
of the fun parts was meeting people from other countries. So while going back, we had to share a jeep. So there were 4 people who wanted 2 more people. So my husband and I were the fifth and sixth. So we were 2 Indians, 1 Indonesian, 2 Singaporean Chinese, and 1 Bangladeshi in the same. What was that jeep? Bolero. Yeah.
ah.
For 3 hours, we were just basically having fun and.
I have I have come across a lot of foreign people come, I mean, especially to Nepal, to do Annapurna base camp because I remember I was traveling back from office work from Sweden. So the person who was sitting next to me, they all were going to Nepal. Those all Swedish people were going because they wanted to track the Annapurna base camp. They said,
Yeah.
our friend lives in Nepal and he has said, you come and track. It's very beautiful. So we are going there.
Yeah, so Annapurna Base Camp was the destination for this trip also. So my friends, they left at 3 a.m. because I wanted to catch the sunrise on Annapurna. So they did, and there was a lot of snow. So we have something called micro spikes that you can attach on the trekking shoes. So that helps you to not slip when you're on the ice. So they were prepared, they had headlamps. And because they left so early, they were able to find tracks of snow leopard. So that was something like that I regret not coming across because I've left halfway. So and then they managed to catch the sunrise on the peaks are golden when there is you can either catch a sunrise or a sunset. Like when we had gone to EBC Everest Base Camp, we climbed a Kalapathar in the evening so that the sun shone on Everest. So that is a very different look. Like suddenly there's like something gold, on the top.
Yeah, how nature mesmerizes, no? It's so beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. So that I missed, but I'm okay. Like
Yeah, at least
destination is fine, but the
at
journey is
least you
better.
went, you had that effort, ki, "ठीक है, I will go up to see, and you were enthusiastic to go.
Yes. Next time again I'll try.
Yeah. So when I went to Spiti na, so wahan pe there was I think Kailash Parbat. So people do some trekking also. Kinnar Kailash, it's called.
Yeah.
So, but I was not that adventurous. I said I'm happy seeing from the bottom. Okay, I've seen the Kailash Parbat. I've seen Shivji. Now I can go back.
Yeah.
I like trekking, but not that adventurous.
Yeah, yeah. That's fine.
And Susan, your lettering is going so amazing. The one you just shared. It's so, I mean, I cannot find any flaws. It's like, it's just going with so
There's
flow.
plenty of flaws. If there's one guarantee I
You
can
can
give
see
you,
what I can see.
no matter how much you practice, there will be mistake. There will be mistake.
But, I mean,
Only thing is your mistakes will look better and better.
yeah.
So that's the only thing. So you can make mistakes with a flourish. That's all. Bas.
And this poster colors somewhat are like acrylic, right?
No.
No,
Poster colors are like gouache.
like wash. Okay.
Yeah. So they are very, very water. I mean, they are water soluble and they are nice. Actually, I love this consistency. It is not. It flows very well. It's very smooth and creamy. So it's a pleasure to work with. Watercolor is watery, right? It's quite
Yeah.
watery.
Yeah.
But this is nice and creamy. Like you put it somewhere and it's not going to move. It's not going to move on its own.
Those cherry blossoms you drew, I mean, they look
Yeah.
so nice.
That's the charm of all these opaque mediums. All of them. They have a very vivid there. They're very vivid. The transparency is not there at all. So it's a charm of its own, It's a kind of
every
illustrative
medium
charm.
has its own, its own. Yeah, like watercolors bring in that transparency and then
Yeah. So I've tried now portraits with both, and I find that they have a different look each. You can't compare the two. I can't say that watercolor is better than gouache or poster, but they both have their own individual charm. And of course, the fact is that you can make so many edits on these, like on poster colors and gouache. You can your white didn't come right. It's all right. Apply a pink over it and again try a white. So it's very forgiving in that sense. And that is also nice. Like sometimes we make mistakes all the time, no? Yeah, we make mistakes all the time. So at least you feel comforted that, okay, leave it, let it dry, come back to it and you can fix it. With watercolor.
Yeah.
In school, we had poster colors. At that time, I didn't know it was also gouache or there was a medium.
No. Gouache is actually different. It's
Different.
Actually, yeah, it's finer. It's finer. Poster color is not as fine. I think gouache is more fine than poster color is. But the thing is that you can use the application is the same. And the consistency when you paint is the same. It's quite the same. So if you use gouache or poster color, the end result may look very much similar. Like you may not be able to tell that this is poster and this is gouache that way. But in painting, you may feel that gouache is finer, nicer, smoother than poster. But poster is very cheap, so you get it everywhere, no? And you get some
in school
big containers, no? Like I've been going through this DOMS ka poster color for how much of painting I've done with it, it's still not over. It's not even halfway. I think there's so much of paint, So it's nice actually to experiment and you don't feel bad. You don't feel bad. Otherwise, what happens? Gouache is expensive, mostly expensive, especially if you want good gouache. And it becomes a little difficult to. I feel bad that I did not know so much application was there for poster color. Like when we learned in school, it just stuck like it all over the place. More and nobody taught the nuances of using this. These pretty paints, you can do so much with it.
Yeah.
I keep every time I put a poster, it's like this is poster color, okay? Just for your information, what your kid has inside the cupboard, that. Because most people will end up asking you, what is this? what premium paint is. This is not premium paint, it's a DOMS. Go pick it up yourself.
Yeah, because I remember for those art exams, elementary and intermediate,
Ah,
so we would use only that, like the
yeah.
Yeah.
the flowers,
For
the
all, in fact,
still life, everything.
yeah. That is at least still more refined. For all this chart making, no, we used to do in school. Everybody sit on the floor, bring one pack of 4 poster colors, and everybody is busy painting with that only. Yeah, it was that way.
Oh,
only.
they're called poster colors. We made posters with them.
Yeah, poster colors with posters. Yeah, I mean posters with poster colors. And horrible brushes. That's one thing I realized. We never paid attention to brushes when we were in school. Fadak, like half painter brushes we used to use, wall painting brushes also, and all the bristles and fibers, everything sticking out like this. Horrible, man. Now it
My-
feels so uncouth, that
I had 3 favorite brushes that I took care of very well. The rest were all for experimentation.
yeah, horrible. My brushes are never. Now when I think about it, what did I do? I abuse them only. Oh, Aditi's back.
I am back.
And you're dressed to kill.
I'm just dressed. Okay, so looks like y'all have practiced enough and I'm very happy with it.
Practiced. Whether we're very happy or it is good is a different matter altogether. But yeah, they look so pretty.
Okay, so share your
Yeah.
your words or something, what you've written on the group, then I can have a look. And we just have 5 more minutes, so I'll just quickly write everyone's names or something. So and maybe I'll write them in pen so you can see how this works. So these lines are going to be my baseline and X line, and my letters will go beyond that. So before I even knew about calligraphy or about these specialized pens in school, I used to make thick and thin letters exactly like that. So when I found out that that was cheating and I felt so bad, and then I learned how to do this with a proper pointed pen. And then I've learned perfectly, and I could do this with a pointed pen. And then now everybody is doing these open shaded when I used to do it 35 years ago. I feel really sad that sometimes we hit upon a solution for something, and then just because it's not known at that time, or you don't have a term for it, you feel that that's not valid. Okay. So wherever you feel the need to, if you want to add a oblique line, please do that. The angular line. Now, hopefully everyone can do this on their envelopes. Since you all have been sending so many letters and all, use this like I use on my envelopes for everyone. I'm sure all of you have received something from me. So last week I went and gave a poster at my yoga class for the lost and found cupboard because I could not stand that they had written lost and found like this. This was the lost and found poster. And it's just so sad that they don't know any better, not their problem, they're just communicating. I'll show you a picture of what I sent them. It can also be written like this, why not? Okay, now in this case, see with Ritu's name, or even Ritika's for that matter, the minuscule letters are almost half the size of the capital letters. So even this works. And that lost and found can be done like this. This is not how I made it, but it could be. So yeah, we have two choices at least.
Yeah, so beautiful.
Okay. Chalo, so that finishes our time and I have to hard stop and rush out unless I want to be left behind. Okay, chalo, see you all next week. I will take on a Gothic script because Susan has suggested we've not done Gothic. So
We
we'll
need
go
this
to-
next week.
we'll need the oblique holder next week. Okay, cool. All right, chalo, bye. See you.
Bye.
Nice
Have a
week.
nice
Aditi will
weekend.
put up the photo on the thing, no?
I
Was,
will.
yeah.
And just as a last note, are you all aware of that big protest happening tomorrow for that fasting for
Son-
Ladakh thing?
Ladakh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, if you are, please definitely go somewhere and protest or send in your videos. They're trying to do a lot of this. I'll share something on the common group. I think it's the need of the hour. We need to make some voice heard. Otherwise, all of us are going to be buried under the rubble of development. So please do something about it. And as artists, the only thing that we have is poster making. So please make it for the locality and share it around. Cool. See you then. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Aditi.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.